Welcome to our PSFN webinar today. For those of you who I don't know, I'm Sarah Burkhart, part of the PSFN leadership team, and we're really excited to have people joining us today. And our speaker, Joanne, who's currently based in the Republic of the Marshall Islands, to share some of the work that she's been doing. I actually got to meet Jo in person a few weeks ago and see some of the work that's been going on in RMI. So I'm particularly excited to see what she's going to share with us today. We're planning for the session to be about 30 minutes of Joanne sharing her experiences and then some time for some Q&A at the end. So please think of any questions that you might like to ask. Please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat as we're working through the webinar as well, and have those questions ready to go.
Fantastic.
Helping the internet.
Great. Cool. And you can hear me okay?
We can hear you.
See it perfectly.
Awesome. Yakwe, everybody. Welcome. It's welcome in Marshallese. Really pleased to be here today and sharing a little about the project that I'm involved with here in the Republic of Marshall Islands. So I'm working here in Majuro as an Australian volunteer on a one-year project. It's actually a 3-year project. So I've joined in the first year of the project, and I'll just share a few reflections of the journey along the way and what we've been learning about addressing non-communicable diseases here in Marshall Islands. And I say we, it's very much a collaborative process of joining together with many players who all influence how we can manage non-communicable diseases. And we're most interested in diabetes with the project that I'm involved in. So it's a World Diabetes Foundation funded project, and we're working in partnership with the Ministry of Health and Human Services, Ministry of Education, Sports and Training, also supported by the Ministry of Natural Resources and Commerce, who very kindly provide technical support and also amazing seedlings to be able to grow. The Taiwanese Technical Mission, who are also helping with aspects of the food growing, both technical advice and seedlings and seed, and sometimes help with the building, which we're really pleased about. And I have mentioned here the Federation of Oceanic Nutrition Societies. Sarah, I see you when I see that name, and I'm really appreciative of the help and assistance that you're providing for an understanding of the recipes with the cookbook that is part of this project. I'm not a nutritionist. I am a soil scientist by training, and that was quite a while back, many years ago at the University of Adelaide. And through my life journey, I've been understanding about, in a roundabout way, we are what we eat. So to be able to understand soils and manage soil nutrition and soil health, that's a big part of the picture of being able to grow healthy gardens and grow food here in the Republic of Marshall Islands. And let's give a little bit of a background on the Marshall Islands. So I'm originally from South Australia, then Tasmania, which is quite a distance away from the Republic of Marshall Islands. But in the context of the Pacific, RMI is about halfway between Australia and Hawaii. So it's relatively remote. It's made up of 29 atolls with a population of approximately 38,000 people, half of which live in Majuro, the capital area, which is relatively densely populated. However, Ebi, one of the atolls of the Kwajalein Atoll, is actually the most densely populated urban area in the Republic of Marshall Islands. And having visited there recently, it was really amazing to see how innovative people have been to be able to live closely together, and an amazing community of a lot of outdoor living, a lot of people coming together, exercising in public open spaces, and it had a really interesting vibe to it, actually. So a little more about the Republic of Marshall Islands. So recognising that a third of the population has already migrated to the United States at a migration rate of about 1,000 people per year. So if we consider it within the context of history, there's been various occupations through time, recognising that the US military were involved here with nuclear testing from 1948 to 1958. 67 nuclear tests, as you can imagine, had quite an impact across the atolls of Marshall Islands. Yeah, it's recognising that there's been a lot of movement of people around from areas that have been impacted, and people are sharing a lot of land and families working together to be able to support each other. Within a food security context, recognising that from the 2021 National Census, the HEAS survey, that 7,228 households, 2,912 households run out of food, and 2,822 households skip a meal quite regularly. So a third of households go without food. So it gives a bit of an understanding of food security here, and recognising that between 80 to 90% of food in RMI is imported. So the World Diabetes Foundation project is titled National Physical Activity and Nutrition for Healthy Futures Project. It started in May 2024 and will be completed April 30, 2027. And the basis of it was recognising that obesity is on the rise in school-aged children in RMI, and that obesity is one of the greatest risks of children developing diabetes early in life. Generally, RMI has a high incidence of diabetes, approximately 30% of the population. So with the World Diabetes Foundation project, the two main themes that are being addressed is to implement strategies to increase physical activity, specifically by partnering with the public school system and measuring the number of minutes of exercise per day. Second part being to increase access to nutritious food by establishing new and also revitalising existing gardens for schools and communities. So integrating gardening into health and science classes through the curriculum, and also linking in a farm to fork tasting activities within the classroom and also in community. So I'll mention that before coming here to the Republic of Marshall Islands, I was working with the 24-carat school garden program in Tasmania. Across the state of Tasmania, we were supporting 24 gardens, and we had a staff of approximately 30 people. It wasn't just growing school food, it was also integrating cooking into the classroom. So very similar to what is being done here. One key difference that we had a staff load of about 30 for those 24 schools, and here in the Republic of Marshall Islands, it's a lot less than that. There's a number of people who are employed through Canvasback Wellness Centre, who is the host organisation for the project. So I came in with a bit of an understanding and feet hit the ground pretty quickly, recognising that there's lots to do and there's not a lot of us, but we're all doing the best we can, and actually we're bringing about positive change, which is exciting. So, now let's see. Here we are. The overall goal of the Healthy Futures project is to increase both physical activity levels and the nutritional content in meals for schools and communities on the atolls in Majuro, Ebi, Jalluit and Wodje. So the outcomes that we're working towards is to decrease the prevalence of obesity and also to increase the weight of underweight students in selected adults by 25% by the end of the 3 years. And we're collecting BMI data to be able to gauge that. Also, to increase the percentage of schools using the National Board approved PE curriculum for kinder to 8th grades from 0 to 34%. So we're hoping for that to be 32 schools targeted within the 3 years. That's what we're aiming for. Number 3, I've put that in a different colour because that's what I'm actually focusing on. So as the urban and school garden mentor here with Canvas Back Wellness, my energy is going into increasing local nutritious foods being used in school lunches and increasing the school capacity to grow its own vegetables. So the targets are that we're looking to increase the number of schools that provide local foods as part of their lunches from 10 to 34%. 10 to 34 gardens and schools. So yeah, over the life of the project, that's what we're working towards. And the 4th overall goal is to create youth life skills program of 5 to 18-year-olds who are at home and not attending school, so that everyone's included. Okay, so the overall information that's presented on this slide shows the expected outputs for the life of the project, and recognising that the 4th and 5th point highlighted in blue, the key outcomes that we're looking to achieve specifically for school food gardens. So to establish 12 in Majuro, 8 in Ebi, 3 in Wodje and 7 in Jalluit. And also community gardens to establish 10 in Majuro, 5 Ebi, 3 Jalluit Atoll and 3 in Wodje. So a total of 51 gardens. And for 34 schools to be providing culturally appropriate health food options. And this is all in the design. So understanding the plants that are being planted in the school garden and integrating the students into the garden space. So next slide. So the approach is outlined in the grant proposal. Again, the complete project outline is provided, but focusing in on the blue being classroom and community. We will be establishing community gardens and school gardens and cooking classes. And this is both with visits to schools and also having community visit our centre here at Canvas Back Wellness Centre for learning opportunities. So this is both at the national level to introduce a new policy for physical education and nutrition, and on the local level, working with the Mayor's Association to hold supporting events where blood sugar levels are being measured within community to understand the incidence of diabetes in community, and then being able to connect people with the healthcare system if they are at risk. Also holding cooking classes and community health screening activities. The next slide. So I have an example here from the PSS school lunch policy, and I just want to bring your attention to the first part of the policy statement, that the public school system funds and provides lunch for all students in all public and private elementary and secondary schools, and 3 daily meals for students at Jallowood High School and Northern Islands High School, where students are boarding. So this is implemented by school vendors who cook the food and bring it each lunchtime and make it available for students. So this is the framework that we're working within for wanting to bring about change. Considering the project, and as an Australian volunteer being here for 12 months, it's a starting point within the 3-year project. So laying a foundation for what lies ahead. Designing how I could best use my time in the 12 months that I'm here. I use an appreciative inquiry method for understanding the best hands-on learning activities that I can bring into the school environment. So discovering what's already working, imagining what we would like to see, designing for that to happen, and creating an action plan. So from that process, in discussion with the directors here at Canvasback, decided that my energy was best put towards building school gardens, education programs in schools, alignment with the health and science curriculum, creating a cookbook education resource. This was a request from PSS, and monitoring the results via photographic evidence. So next slide. So focusing on the Farm to Fork project. And I very much want to thank everyone within the Canvasback team. That's everyone here at the Wellness Centre. So Rick and Lorraine, the directors, they're also project managers, and they're involved very much within the general guiding and reporting of the project, and in very many other ways. Rick also was part of the garden building crew. So, you know, it's a matter of many hands make light work, and everybody being part of the project in many different ways. So we also have a really wonderful crew in the kitchen who are sharing every single day from the kitchen space through the work week. And I rely on them quite a bit to be able to just pop on a pot of rice. I'm going out to a school. If the rice cooked ahead of time, I can take that with me when I go out to visit a school. And that's a great help. Kitchen staff also helping with washing up and making sure that my tote box is ready each day to be able to go out to the schools. And of course, not forgetting accounting, which is really important, and also the health screening crew also assist with exercise programs and assisting with some cooking demonstrations as well. So we're all multitasking here. So back to the project, recognising that it began in May 2024, and the focus has been to provide materials to build gardens and to build the gardens. The activities are aligned with the health and science curriculum, and our focus through the Australian Volunteers Program is very much about being a person-to-person aid program. So training and upskilling is very much a focus of all of our activities within the program. And it's focusing on people's strengths and working beside people in all areas within the community to be able to share knowledge, skills and experiences that we have, which bring about an increased understanding of the local environment to help with the change. And highlighting again, you know, my background's in soils, so that's always my starting point and the lens that I'm seeing things through. Healthy soil, healthy plants, healthy people, and healthy futures. Next slide. So one of the wonderful things that happened soon after we arrived, and I say we because my husband Jeff, who many of you may know, who has worked in the Pacific for quite a time now, we both arrived here to work in RMI. And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Jeff a lot, that it's quite incredible to be able to work beside him in this project as well, and have a better understanding of what life has been like for him when he steps on an aeroplane and flies off to the Pacific. It's quite an incredible process to link in with community. And yeah, I really appreciate to be able to work beside you. And it's been a lot of fun and continues to be. So thank you. So yes, we arrived, and within the first few weeks, we were off to have a look at many urban gardens around Majuro and Laura. So Laura is one of the main food growing areas in RMI, and it's mostly farming. And it's been happening within the Laura area for many thousands of years. There's been a lot of accumulation of organic matter in that part of the island. It's more distant from Majuro, which is urban, but it's an area where there are agroforestry trees, there is bush areas. It's had an accumulation of organic matter, not just by leaf fall, but also by a lot of human activity through time to build up soils, because atoll soils are in fact some of the most difficult soils to work with in the world, purely based on being mainly made of crushed up coral. It's high in pH, but also in a tropical environment like this, most of the nutrients actually exist within growing material. So the plants are holding the nutrients. When you cut those plants, put them on the soil, it's then converted by soil microbes into nutrients that's available for plants. And it's also a source of organic matter to be able to feed the soil microbes. So it was a great gift for us to be able to go and see many farms and many backyard garden spaces within Majuro and understand the urban food growing landscape as well as the rural food growing landscape. So as you can see from the pictures that are shown here, there's a lot of diversity in backyard garden spaces, both urban forests, so fruit trees like papaya, and also lots of diverse vegetable growing and innovations as well. A lot of upcycled materials that people are using to grow food in. So understanding energy being generated around food growing, the positivity, people always get a bit excited about a competition. So talking with NRC and understanding more about atoll food growing, using that framework to be able to guide how the gardens are built, and that becoming a guiding framework for schools to work towards their own school garden competition. Something else that people also become quite excited about, next slide, is new innovations. So Here in the Republic of Marshall Islands, we've been able to upcycle some intermediate bulk containers and turn them into wicking beds using what is here on island. So if you have a close look, you see in slide 1, there's some large tins. Those large tins came from the kitchen here at Majuro Hospital. Putting them in the base of the IBC, there are rocks of coral that go in between that. That becomes a matrix which then holds water. There's a permeable geofabric that goes on top of that, and then the soil sits on top. By setting it up in this way and holding the water in the base, we're able to reduce water use by 40%. So not only are we short on space to be able to grow food in Majuro, but reliability of water is also a bit of a challenge. Being able to make a wicking bed is easy, it's fun, it's interesting, and it works. So this system we set up at Rita Baptist Church, and within 6 weeks we were picking food that we could cook with the students. Next slide, please. So very important that we're looking at climate smart gardening. Mulches, absolutely important in any garden system, but particularly here in the tropics, understanding that the leaves become part of the soil matrix very quickly, and they're helping to stop water loss. Here at Joe Jickham Youth Centre, the garden designs have high walls which reduce the impact from wind and water loss. And the Three Sisters companion planting you may be familiar with, growing corn and a bean seed next to it. As the corn grows, the beans grow up the corn using the corn as support, but the beans, being a legume, are putting organic nitrogen into the soil. So the two plants are working together. A little off to the side, you don't see it in this picture, but there is also pumpkin being grown, which grows across as a further understory, which helps to prevent water loss. And you have 3 plants growing in the same space, and they're all working together towards an ecosystem that's producing a lot of food. Next slide. So within the food systems, really important to be growing local fruit and leafy greens such as moringa and other local plants like yellow beach pea is a leafy green, perennial plants which can be eaten in much the same way as pak choi. It's adapted to the local environment. It's perennial, it can be picked from continuously, and has a readily available, highly nutritious food source for people to eat. And these plants are already present here in RMI. And we're really thankful that Natural Resources and Commerce are propagating very many of these that we're able to take out into the school gardens. They are within the garden design, usually to the edge, so they create a little bit of a windbreak. They can help to protect the other annual plants that are growing in the garden. But again, just emphasising the point that they are a readily available food source continuously for people. And we did do a tasting test that was hosted by NRC, and it was really interesting to understand how people were interacting with the different leafy greens. So something like pak choi that you see here in the slide, people would see quite readily in supermarkets, and the leafy greens, say moringa, would be in hedgerows. But to taste the two cooked in a similar way and understand from an audience how they connected with the different tastes and the vocabulary that was utilized to explain the different flavors that people pick up from the various plants, it gave us a really good understanding of the likelihood of plants being continued to be picked and eaten, and where we needed to put effort into looking at a variety of different ways of being able to cook plants so that they were more palatable. Happy kids, that's what I like to see. And we see that a lot in gardens. Kids enjoy being outside, enjoy having their hands in the soil and being part of the change. But recognising, we can tweak what happens a little just by suggesting ideas on how to maximise yield in any particular space. Here, looking at optimum plant density. Next slide. Thanks. So yes, we have a lot of fun in the garden, and that's really important. And that kind of just happens. The children love to be in the garden, in the fresh air. At this particular school, I find that they come outside and they're in the shade of the tree straight away. That makes a lot of sense. The temperature here ranges somewhere between 29 degrees and 31 degrees most days. Try to be there early in the morning. It's slightly cooler, but 29 to 31 is relatively hot pretty much every day, which is great for growing plants, but becomes a bit uncomfortable for people. So we always try to plan our visits at times that are going to be most conducive to people being in the garden, enjoying being there, and also for plants to grow, planting early in the day or late in the afternoon. And here at the co-op school, a friend with his 6-string ukulele that his grandfather made. It's made out of a local wood. But children interacting with nature, how important it is, and having a little bit of fun with imagination. Also recognising that we're upskilling local staff as well and sharing techniques. The outreach team are then going into community and sharing those ideas and techniques with the people that they are meeting each day. Next slide, thanks. Oh. Here we have Miss Santo. And Miss Santo was the winning school for the school garden competition. And I think it's really important to highlight here that everything is upcycled except for the long wooden garden beds. They were provided through the WDF grant. But Miss Santo is absolutely passionate about food growing. She's from Palau, and her food growing interest began as a child in Palau alongside her father, and she brought every bit of that family love into that garden at the time that was right for her. And our contribution was pretty much the garden bed and some soil. Miss Santo did everything else, and it's absolutely amazing. It's still flourishing, and we were really happy to be able to visit recently and create a video of Miss Santo with her students in the garden. It's not quite ready yet, so I wasn't able to share it today, but it would be lovely to share it with you in the future. Next slide. How can gardening change your life in a positive way? Well, there's many positive ways. And I'm an absolute fan of Brenna Quinlan. She's a fabulous artistic activist, I think is how she likes to be seen. But I love her pictures, and she speaks a message through every picture that she creates. So here she has created a wonderful summary of gardening being great for absorbing vitamin D. It's actually cheaper than going to the gym or the doctor or the psychologist. It builds community, rekindles our connection to nature, teaches us new skills, changes our relationship to food, encourages trade and generosity between neighbours within communities, gets us outside, fresh air, really important, empowers individuals, households and communities. It's a hobby, it's a pastime that actually does good in terms of food security. It's fantastic. It sequesters carbon, don't have to worry about plastic waste, it's chemical free, and it strengthens our gut microbiome. And it removes our dependence on the industrial food system, builds soil in a wonderful, positive way, and gives us free organic food. What isn't there to love about that? It's wonderful. Next slide. And also, most importantly, cooking is fun. Picking from the garden, smelling, feeling, tasting, understanding how to be able to transform what comes from the garden into something absolutely delicious that can be shared at a table. The kids love it. And also the teachers. So we're buddying beside teachers who are then sharing further cooking within the classroom when we're not there. As I explained before, I'm not a nutritionist, but I use very basic rules of thumb for being able to share some ideas around making healthy food choices. My healthy plate is an A3 sheet of colourful paper that I carry with me everywhere. And a mantra that seems to be easy and is shared is 5 and 2. 5 vegetables, 2 fruit, and it makes up half a plate. We can look also at protein for bodybuilding. That could be plant-based, like beans, for example. Here it's more likely to be fish from the ocean. And energy foods, very much advocating for local grown starches like sweet potato or taro, but recognising that rice is a big part of the diet here too. And we're encouraging for the rice to be brown rice rather than white rice, which isn't always easy to source. Next slide. And this is what it would look like. Typically, a visit to a school utilising local pumpkin, local greens, a bean flavouring, and if we don't have tomatoes in the garden, using tinned tomatoes, and students having an understanding of the nutrition data on the tin. Next slide. And as I explained before, working towards a cookbook, and part of that process was also having a school cooking competition. Next slide. And again, that was a lot of fun. And it relied on many people working together, PSS, TTM, Canvasback, and volunteers. TTM provided the produce for the cooking competition. Schools came together, cooked a dish, shared the recipe, made some posters. It was a lot of fun. Next slide. An example of how we're integrating the learnings with the garden, with the science curriculum. So currently working on lesson plans for both science and health curriculum. Next slide. An example of the RMI health curriculum and how we integrate with that, encouraging healthy food choices. So through the results, monitoring and evaluation, as I explained before, most of the gardening is monitored by taking photographs before and after, but there has also been BMI data collected, and wanting to highlight this point that students were asked about how many minutes of exercise is optimum, and 52.5% were not aware that 60 minutes of physical activity is optimum. So we're working about changing that through education, but also 68.4% of sixth graders were not aware that they should eat vegetables and fruit at least 5 servings each day. So that gave us a really good starting point for knowing where to focus energy. So we have been also sharing dried fruit in schools to encourage healthy food choices. Next slide. So we're at the 7-month mark now. So here's an idea of what the next 5 months might look like. We'll be offering teacher professional development trainings through the summer break, also visiting the outer islands of Jalua, Watjet and Ebi again, in partnership with NRC, which has been really great for promoting the leafy green perennial plants. Also PTA meetings for sharing the BMI stage 1 data and introducing the healthy living guidelines, which was recently released here in Juro. Also working with an urban food growing group with the introduction of tower farm training. So tower farms have gone to some of the outer islands, and I'll touch on that a bit later. Book, which I've mentioned before, at this point in time being available in English, and hoping for an overlap with the new Australian volunteer to introduce and have a handover process to make it easier and more streamlined. Looking at some of the challenges along the way. Language, recognising that most people speak Marshallese, and we were a little surprised by that. So needing to find an interpreter as often as we can. Access to seeds has been quite difficult. Communication and reliability of communication, which we've discovered is often related to internet, and freight, needing to freight garden materials out to the outer islands. That has been a bit of a challenge sometimes. And setting up the tower farms on the Ebi, for example, there were many power interruptions, and it demonstrated that there really needs to be a reliable form of power. So we sought extra funding from other organisations to supply solar power, and I'm pleased to say that that's come through. So we're really excited about that. And recognising if you want something done, ask a busy person to help because you know they can do it syndrome is all well and good. You know people have the skills, but recognising that people can only stretch so far, and often it may be that someone's invited to a meeting, but they may be somewhere else because they're needing to be somewhere else because they are so busy. So, yeah, a way around that is something that we're all looking to address. But in these times of challenges, keep hope because there's such a beautiful vision that's possible. And from my perspective, having a permaculture framework is something that I've found really helpful at times where things have been really difficult, because it is such a reliable system of community resilience. Next slide. So considering all that has taken place in the last 7 months, recommendations. Always welcome new people on board, because we are really hopeful that more people will enjoy gardening and cooking. We have had a gardener based here at Canvasback Wellness at the Wellness Centre, who has moved on based on governance issues around management of garden spaces here at the hospital, but understanding that there's always an opportunity there for integrating gardeners into the school garden spaces. There's lots to be done and lots to learn, and many people can be part of that. How great it would be to encourage student learning and cultural exchange opportunities like the new Colombo Plan, which is an Australian government plan. Absolutely, it would be great to encourage long-term competency-based pathways of learning toward qualified positions in gardening, horticulture, permaculture, food handling, food safety, environmental health, chef, kitchen hand, and hospitality. This could be with colleges, universities, here in RMI and also across the Pacific. And how great it would be. Imagine, what if there was increased support for regional school food programs across the Pacific? That would be wonderful. And that's an ongoing interest of mine. Increasing networking opportunities for everyone to learn from each other like this. How great this is. And thank you, Jess. And thank you, Sarah. Amazing. The Pacific School Food Network. I'm really glad to be part of it, and amazing what you do, bringing everyone together. It's fantastic. Next slide. Just finishing with a few references and recommendations. I'll leave that with you to look at a later time. But there's lots of opportunities to learn and lots of opportunities to share. So thank you for inviting me along to share today. It's really great to be part of the network. Thanks. Happy to hear some questions.
Thanks so much, Jo. That was extremely detailed, and it's so exciting to hear about the great work that you guys are doing, linking, school gardens and nutrition. We have heaps of questions. I wasn't able to have a look at them before. We don't have heaps of time, so I'm going to maybe have to randomly choose one. We've got some questions about how the school lunches work in RMI. I know you probably don't, we don't have time to talk about how the whole school meals program works, but perhaps you could explain to us how the school gardens are being integrated into the school meals program, because I think you mentioned that at the beginning.
Yeah, it's certainly our target to work towards that, and recognising that it's a challenge everywhere, really. We found similar in Tasmania, that to be able to grow enough volume to be able to feed everybody is certainly a challenge everywhere. So I believe that there's a hope of connecting with local farmers, which happens in other parts of the world, to be able to provide local food so that there's enough continuity of supply and volume for all of the school project, the school lunches with time. So for us, as it works now, school food vendors are bringing packed school lunches in small cardboard containers to the school, and students are provided that every day. If I'm at the school and I'm cooking, I will add to that. So understanding that Rita Baptist School, for example, they had a session where they picked from the garden, picked the greens and the eggplant. I brought a few supplementary ingredients as well, and we cooked a dish which then added to the school lunch that had been provided. So that's where we're at this point in time. But recognising that the high schools have a commercial kitchen, they are able to cook their foods, which are then shared with students. So yeah, we're kind of looking to try and create something that is similar, but you know, that's quite a few steps to reach that point of having access to a commercial kitchen and all of that.
So the schools you're working at the moment don't have that
That's
in
right.
them?
So,
Okay.
yeah, I just bring a small portable gas stove to cook with. So it's more about the education rather than the practicality of a complete school lunch through the
Yeah.
program that we're providing.
Yeah, and I think it's realistic also to acknowledge that these school garden programs are never going to be able to provide all the food, but they can sometimes supplement what
Right.
what a national program is already providing, and or they can provide you know, a backstop when maybe the bigger school meal programs value chains have an issue or supply issue for any reason. So I think it's good. You know, a lot of people hear school gardens, they think school gardens will feed the students, and I think it's realistic to set those expectations up to go, well, they can complement it or supplement if they have the facilities to do so. So it's an interesting point. Changes when you get into boarding schools or larger high schools, I think.
Yeah.
We have a few questions about how you've engaged with governments, and I think that's an interesting point. What has been your experience? I mean, this will probably be our last question, regarding how your engagement with the local government in terms of helping them to understand the value of school gardens for nutrition in schools.
I
In
believe
terms of the
when
partnerships. Thanks.
yes, yeah. So understanding that the project was developed before I arrived, but my understanding is that the development phase, all of the major stakeholders were at the table for developing the project. So there was buy-in from the government agencies such as PSS, the Ministry of Health, very much so, and also natural resources. So where we are at this point in the process, it's been a opportunity to bring people together around specific events. So, for example, when we recently went to eBuy and understanding that natural resources were also wanting to increase food growing in that space, it became a really close partnership to work together with that same idea for that specific purpose. And when we were making arrangements for that, understanding that the local government were on board, they chauffeured us around, they were very much part of the conversations. We also gave a presentation to the local government association of what we have done to date. So I find those processes very helpful.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Jo. We're going to have to wrap it up there. I just wanted to draw to your attention that there was been a request from one of the participants, Winona, if you would be interested in doing a pen pal or talking to the schools about doing a pen pal system with one of their school food initiatives as well. And I love that idea. I think we, as the network, we should think about how we might be able to facilitate something like that as well. Brilliant. But if you, we'll try to connect you two outside of the webinar as well. I love it. This is what the network's all about, connecting people and facilitating these types of opportunities and innovations as well about how the network can support it. So that's fantastic. For those of you who are not yet, please formally sign up to the Pacific School Food Network. We try to host these webinars fairly regularly. We have some exciting events coming up in person and some big plans for the region as well. So please do sign up, tell your friends, and be part of what we're hoping is a change in our region to try to get healthier school kids, healthier food systems, and better nutrition for us all. Sarah, I might hand back to you just to wrap up.
Yes. I feel like you've done the most wonderful wrap up there. But again, thank you, Jo, for sharing all of that information and your perspectives with us today. I mean, I just loved seeing all the photos. I think that was just fantastic, being able to see what it's like on the ground. Particularly if people haven't been there too, with some of the challenges around local production. But thank you so much, Jo. Thank you everyone for joining us.
Thank you.
There's a link in the chat if anyone would like to get involved with the network more. We're also on LinkedIn. But yeah, thank you everyone, and hopefully we'll see you at a future PSFN event as well. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Great. Thanks so much. Yes, wonderful to share. And thank you for being such a fantastic welcoming network.